Hey gang, hello everyone. Oh my gosh. Um, I don't know what's going on with MailChimp, but my message just came through into my junk email. So hopefully other people will find us. You got your email just before 5. Excellent, Peter and Karen. So did my brother Peter, who's come over to have a look at things and make sure that I haven't done anything stupid, but apparently it's not my fault. Um, Pete, yeah, you can watch it live. You don't have to watch it on your phone. You have to make it quiet because I can't talk and hear myself talking at the same time. It'll make my head explode. So hi everyone. How you going? Happy Thursday. It's getting a bit crazy around here. Jill and Richard are going off to their Pinot tasting. Hello, David and Fiona. David and Fiona, sounds like good Caesar salad dressing. Well done, David. Hello, Sarah, and all the tricks. Who else haven't I said hello to? Hello, Peter and Karen, Craig and Joan and Karen. How you going? Curry chicken pastry, yum. Sounds delicious, Joan. Hello, Kay. How you going? I'm looking forward to our little subgroup of Chablis and Oysters gang. Catching up on Saturday. That will be good fun. Hello, Sue and Daryl. Hello, Sue and Daryl. I haven't even had a glass of wine yet and I can't speak. It's dreadful. Let me have a little sip of water. Oh, you'll notice as well that hang on. I've got more art behind me. I'll tell you about that later. But we should get some wine in our glasses first. Hello, Connie and John. Lovely to see you. I'm surrounded. Peter's here. He and Nina have moved house this week, which is awesome. Now it means that he's only 15, 20 minutes away from us, so he can come over and do Drinks with Kate live. He's got the dogs in the dog restaurant, so hopefully there won't be too much barking going on. I've got the wine, I've got a glass, I've got some water, I've got a decanter. Okay, let's do this. Shell, hello, Shell and Andrew. Oysters, prawns, Thai fish cakes, holding the chili sauce. Good work. Hello, Nareem. How are you? And all the dyes. Lovely to see you. Craig's got stuck in, so let's catch up, shall we? We have today the Moorooduc McIntyre Chardonnay 2021. Hang on, let me do that. I don't know why it doesn't work for me anymore when it used to. I've just gone a bit unco. Anyway, it's obviously there's Jill wandering past in her exercise gear. Hello, Jill. Oysters, Sarah. Do not surprise me. I know that you guys are quite partial to a little oyster. This decanter is absolutely filthy on the outside, but it smells fine. So it's just got a little bit of smudgy smudge. So it's always nice to clean and polish your decanters, but if they're not clean and polished, they still work. As long as I don't have, oh, there's Polly. Hi, Polly. Right, gonna stick this in here first. So a little decant. Oh, this is decanter number 2. So you can be quite rough with your decanting. You can see a bit of bubbling happening here because we're trying to get a bit of air into the wine. And so just tossing it in. I didn't really feel like I could toss it in any more energetically than that because I might have ended up with wine on the table and on my lap and on the computer. Hello, Kay. Open Duck 2019 Chardonnay again with some fish and chips. It's not boring if you love it. It's always good. Here we go. David has said he usually prefers the Robinson when released, not with the 2021s. The Duck is wonderful. And we're going to have the Duck Pinot in a couple of weeks too, so that'll be fun. Okay, Pete, there you go. Cheers, everyone. So this wine, well, Pete's now torn between getting himself a glass of wine and supervising the dogs because we've got Oscar here who can't eat anything else except for Oscar's on a diet of tuna and rice, which is very boring, but he's got some weird stomach complaint as an old dog. So yes, it's all very boring. Let's talk about the wine instead. Hey, Paul. So 2021. I love this wine. Full disclosure, I'm very excited. I was very excited when we finally were able to release it. I still think it's really, really young, really tight. And I think Kay, with your 2019 Duck Chardonnay, I agree. I wouldn't decant that. I would just pour it into a big glass and let it open up in the glass. And you've got the bottle to yourself, so you got a chance to kind of enjoy it slowly. No, Cody, it doesn't matter if you didn't decant, but it'll just take a little bit longer for it to open up for you. So you just want to give it a good swirl, get some air in it, get your schnoz in there, have a bit of a smell, see what you can smell. It's every year the Moorooduc McIntyre Chardonnay is the wine that I find the hardest to describe. It's particularly when it's young. Sorry, Oscar's just standing next to me licking the chair, which is weird, but I'm just going to ignore him and hope he goes away. Hi, Oscar. Poor little dog. Not allowed to eat chairs, only tuna. It's a wine I find really difficult to describe because it's the most savoury and the most vinous of all of the wines. It's, oh gosh, hi Polly. Oh, dogs are hyper excited today. It's all going on. It's the most vinous of all the wines, which just means it's the most winey of the wines, which is a stupid word, but it's a word that we use in the wine industry when we can't kind of relate it easily to fruit descriptors or vegetable descriptors or spice descriptors. We kind of go, well, it smells like wine. But I agree, Craig, it does have this beautiful lemon acid line. I haven't put it in my mouth yet, but I know because I have had this wine before. That on the nose, it's got this kind of, it's got a little bit of kind of lemon rind, lemon oil. There's a little bit of floral there, but it's quite savoury. Hello, Linda. Oh, hey, everyone. It's Linda's birthday. Happy birthday, Linda. We made, hello, Rob and Deb. Lovely to see you. We made Linda stay a little bit late to have a little celebratory glass of bubbles before she went home. So we made her late for drinks with Kate. Polly, shush. There's no chips. Oh, there are chips left in. Linda, you should have eaten the chips before you left because now Polly's barking at me for them. So back to the wine. I will get there. So many distractions. I think we're getting a little bit silly in December now, aren't we? So it's got this kind of lemon rind, lemon oil kind of character. It's got this beautiful, almost kind of, it's nectarine fruit, but not sweet, but not underripe either. It's kind of almost like salted nectarine or something. It's really, I know that's a strange descriptor, but it's a bit more savoury than nectarine, but it's got that nectarine kind of essence, which is awesome. It's also got some sort of salty, sort of saltine kind of cracker kind of aromatics to it. And then there's that little sandalwood perfume, which pops up after it's been aired for a little while. And the sandalwood I always see coming from the vineyard rather than from oak. A lot of people assume that it's had a bit more new oak and that's why it smells of sandalwood, but it's not. It's a vineyard characteristic. Fiona, nectarine in a salad with vinaigrette's great, and that's kind of that's what I was kind of trying to get at. It's kind of sweet, but it's savoury as well. So yeah, it's like nectarine with a bit of vinaigrette on it, which is awesome. What else? It's really complex and it's quite closed and it's opening up really slowly. It'll take us a little while, I think, to get all the descriptors right for the wine. But it's got this really sort of powerful, muscular kind of richness to it as well, which reminds me of sort of the cooked fat on lamb or duck fat or something like that. It's really, really interesting. Not as creamy as the Robinson. It will develop a bit of creaminess, Craig, but the Robinson's got that kind of real kind of floral, creamy. There's almost a lollishop kind of lemon sherbet about it, whereas the McIntyre has the lemon, but it's more like lemon oil, and it's a bit more angular as a young wine. Certainly less creamy, and it will develop some of those dairy kind of product characters with some age, and they'll probably pop up as the wine's airing. All right, I'm going to have a taste. I'll come back to the nose because I feel like I haven't really done it. It smells like wicker baskets as well. It's really like it's this weird kind of wickery kind of dried hay character, which is really appealing. Mm. And there it is on the palate. Sorry, we've just had like 2 kookaburras arrive as well. It's all going here at Moorooduc. David, somehow half a bottle open from Sunday. That is a long decant. How's it tasting after all that time? Well, Cotty, I think in a way it does have a creaminess, but the lemoniness of the wine and that tangy acidity kind of takes away from it. Um, and I think it's really, I think it'll be really interesting to see how it opens up because I think um, on first opening you get a little bit of creaminess and then it goes away for a while and it comes back, but it's kind of like a nutty kind of semi-hard cheese kind of creaminess as well. But it should, I think the Caesar salad should be bringing out more sort of creamy textural characters in the wine as well, which I think is really one of those cool things about a food and wine match. Now, just be careful with your Caesar salad. If you've got a poached egg on top, which will be delicious, and you should have a poached egg on top, the egg yolk will stick to your lips and will stick to the edge of the glass, and your wine will end up smelling eggy if you don't wipe it off. I had it's because there's so much there's a lot of oil fatty acid in the egg yolk, and so it makes it stick to your lips and then to the glass. And I had a boss a long time ago who was very fastidious about his wine glass being pristine, and he would always carry a handkerchief, and every time he took a sip of the wine he'd then wipe the rim of the glass to make sure it was clean. Now I think that's a lot of work when you're drinking wine, but that made him very happy. But if you're eating egg with a runny yolk, or if you're eating salmon, smoked salmon or poached salmon, oily fish, then the oil from the egg or the fish can get stuck on the glass, and then all you can smell in the glass is that fatty content of the egg or the salmon or whatever the fish is that you're possibly eating. So that's a tip for you. And if it doesn't bother you, then don't worry about it. It's a thing that I get a little bit obsessive about because I'm a freak. And when I was trying to taste for my MW, I'd get real. And when you go to a dinner and you have really fancy wine and they serve oily fish or eggy things, and all you can smell is the egg or the fish, and you're trying to get into the wine, it's a bit frustrating. Whereas when you're at home and you're just eating your food and drinking your wine, then it doesn't matter so much. Craig wants to know what wine matches with egg. And I'm not sure of the answer to that, Craig, because I don't usually drink wine with egg for exactly the reason I've just explained, because it gets on the glass and then I get annoyed. And so I tend to have egg with Linda. I think she might be talking about the wine rather than you, but you do have lovely legs. That's absolutely correct. So I tend to eat my egg for breakfast, and I don't usually drink wine with breakfast. I try not to get into the habit of having wine with breakfast because I think there should be at least one meal of the day where you don't have a glass of wine. And I made a very stupid joke to a friend once who said, I find it really hard to have two alcohol-free days a week. And I said, oh, that's easy. You just split them in half and you have 4 alcohol-free half days a week. And if you just don't have any alcohol before midday for 4 days of the week, then that's the same as 2 alcohol-free days. And I think it actually works. Omelette and a glass of, thank you, Peter. So Pete's got me back to it. Joan has champers with breakfast, so Joan votes for that. I agree. Champers with breakfast is a pretty good way to go and works pretty well with egg, particularly a Blanc de Blanc champagne. Yes, thank you, Cheryl. Scrambled egg and champagne go very nicely together, says Nareem, and I agree. A sweet side sparkling or champagne would be nice. Yeah, so I was going to say the wine that I think is most successful with breakfast, particularly if it's an egg-based breakfast, is either champagne or Moscato d'Asti, which is incredibly low alcohol. It's about 4.5% alcohol. It's sweet. It's made from muscat. It's slightly fizzy. It's from Italy. Don't get the sort of Australian or American sort of cheap versions of it. Get the good Piemontese stuff, and it's just beautiful. It's got to be really fresh as well, though. So amazing. So Peter also pointed out omelette and a glass of wine is a classic combo, according to people like Elizabeth David. One of her books was actually called An Omelette and a Glass of Wine. And the Burgundians really have it. The Burgundians have a dish that's very famous, and that lots of people see as a good reason to have egg with red Burgundy, and it's called œuf au mouret, which is eggs poached in a sauce made from wine and stock, I think. But again, I think that's disgusting with wine. I've had it once and I was really disappointed, and I've never ordered it again. So I think champagne with eggs. David proposed to Fiona over poached eggs and champagne. Oh, that's gorgeous. Cheers to that. So yes, I think champagne and eggs, fantastic. If you can put some shaved truffle on your scrambled eggs, Pete, that's even better. Love it. Love it, you guys. So Kate, the wine I just mentioned is called Moscato, which is Moscato, and then D' Asti, Asti. So Moscato d'Asti, you can get it from most, you can get it from a number of specialist independent retailers. It tends to be quite a difficult wine to sell because it's low alcohol and it's sweet, and a lot of Australians say, what's the point? I know you can buy it from the Prince Wine Store. I'm pretty sure you can get it down here from Stu at Mount Eliza Fine Wines. You would be able to get a Moscato d'Asti from somewhere like Armidale Cellars or Rathdown Cellars, I'm sure. I think you'd struggle in one of the, you probably get one from Dan Murphy's, but it might not be very fresh. So you want to get it from somewhere that's buying the wine fresh and selling it quickly, not something that's been sitting on the shelf even for 6 months. It's going to be a bit disappointing. You're right, Nareem. It's probably not the right group to suggest wine with breakfast is a bad thing. We all know that we've indulged in wine with breakfast on occasion, hopefully just for special occasions or maybe just on Sundays. But, I have got to say also one of my favourite family traditions at Christmas is having a really special bottle of champagne with panettone for breakfast while the kids open their Father Christmas presents, and then we all hand out any other presents that we've got. It's a really nice way to start the day. It makes when you've got little kids in the house who want to get up and open their Christmas presents at 6 o'clock in the morning, it makes getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning a little bit easier to have a little glass of Krug or something, or Louis Roederer or something like that in your hand. And I think at that point, a Pinot-based champagne, or a champagne with a lot of Pinot Noir in it, is actually better with something like a panettone or Vegemite on toast or whatever. Whereas a Blanc de Blanc is going to go better with maybe your poached eggs, particularly if you're having what's it called, Pete? When you put the sauce over the top of the poached egg on the muffin, hollandaise sauce. It's got a eggs Benedict with Blanc de Blanc champagne is pretty awesome. Jones just pulled out Elizabeth's book, An Omelette and a Glass of Wine. Doesn't say what variety of wine. Well, Elizabeth David would have been very at home in our group because she liked a glass of wine. Didn't really matter what it was. Didn't matter really what she was matching it to, as long as it was a nice glass of wine at the right time. She was pretty happy. So, and a good glass of wine. So, yes, Craig. We don't know. That's the wrong group. Wrong group. Take that to the other group, Craig. Fiona's mother always stressed the importance of not leaving Santa a glass of milk. Apparently, he much prefers a glass of port and a piece of chocolate. She was right. It was always gone in the morning. Well, I think it's important for Santa because he has to go to a lot of houses in one night, and he has to eat a lot of snacks and drink a lot of drinks. And I think if you had a glass of milk at every house that you went to when you were delivering presents, you'd feel quite sick in the stomach. So we think that when Santa gets to us, he tends to enjoy just a wee dram of whiskey and a chocolate biscuit. So I think Santa's obviously got excellent capacity to drink his port and his whiskey and get around the world in a night to hand out presents. So he's pretty impressive. But yes, Santa at our house likes whiskey, sometimes Armagnac if there's some around, but it's usually a whiskey. And he almost always finishes his whiskey. Your Santa is lactose intolerant, Craig. That's dreadful. No, I think Santa's okay because he's up in the sky, Nareem. And he's driving a sleigh with magic reindeer. Surely the reindeer are driving, and he's just a passenger. It's like the Teslas with the self-driving facility that, if you get a bit tired and you need a little sleep, then the reindeer will just take you to the next place that you need to go. I'm sure that's the deal with Santa. And anyway, he's magic, so he can probably just magic the alcohol out of his liver without having to even have a hangover. I'm a bit jealous of Santa sometimes, but that's all right. Kay, you saw him giving gifts to fish in an aquarium on TV today. Oh my God, that's amazing. And Rudolph was there too. Gosh, he's had to start early this year, hasn't he? Poor old Santa. It's a bit hard. Richard's going to have a little glass of wine just before he goes to his wine tasting. It's one of the advantages of having slightly dodgy eyes. He gets driven places, so he doesn't have to worry about staying under 0.05. Craig, shampoos for breakfast for daytime TV. All right, Craig, naughty. So you can quiz Kay about that at our Saturday night Chablis and oyster event. Now I've completely lost track of what I was saying, but apart from the egg with the Chardonnay, I think that combination of bacon and lettuce and that lovely creamy dressing in a Caesar salad, now that it's finally starting to warm up a little bit, I think it's such a lovely combination. And the Parmesan cheese in it, all of those flavours, I think, go really, really nicely with a complex Chardonnay like this. And I was talking to Linda because it's her birthday and she usually likes to have Peking duck for her birthday. And I said, well, that's not going to go with the Chardonnay, but you don't have to drink the Chardonnay tonight. And you were quite adamant, weren't you, Linda, that you were going to drink the Chardonnay tonight. And hopefully it's going down very nicely. I'd be interested to know what you ended up buying to have for your dinner with the Chardonnay, because I did suggest some prawns. I did suggest maybe some steamed prawn dumplings would be really nice with this wine. But I reckon, coming back round to the egg thing and the breakfast thing, if you were having brunch and you didn't want to drink champagne and you wanted to maybe have a little glass of wine, I reckon this wine would go really well with a fried egg and really good free range bacon, cooked nice and crispy, and a little floury soft bap roll. That would be delicious. Egg and bacon roll with duck Chardonnay, I think, would be absolutely awesome. Linda is having camembert chips with her. Excellent, good work, very good. Also, if you have got chips if you opted for chips in the floured baps would protect your lips. Exactly, Fiona. So this is the whole point of like an egg sandwich. You can also, if you make sure that only the bread touches your lips and the egg goes into your mouth, then it doesn't become a problem. So it's all about cunning eating, being careful about what goes on your lips, what goes in your mouth, all that stuff. Very complex. Pairing aside, which is superb, the Caesar salad recipe was awesome. Loving it. Oh, I'm so glad, Robert Deb. So that comes from Karen Martini's, I think it's her first official book that she put out when she was at the Melbourne Wine Room. It's such a good book and all the recipes are good, so I'm glad you like that. So, Craig, I know you don't care for the awards, but have you ever had any major awards for the duck over the years? I would put this up against any of the famous Shardies. It's the Cunning Plan Baldrick, absolutely. So, Craig, this wine has had some really nice reviews. Bye, Richard. Bye, Jill. Jill and Richard are going to their next. Jill, come and show people what you look like out of your sports gear. Gotcha. So we've had a big discussion recently, and we have this discussion every few years about entering wine shows. We choose not to, and this wine particularly has not gone out to too many places, too many people. I love this wine. I think this is so delicious, Craig. Unfortunately, we made less than 100 dozen bottles of it. So every bottle we pay to put into a wine show or into a wine competition and then send samples is a bottle that we can't get into our customers' cellar, into their wine fridge, into their glass, into their tummies. We'd rather, at the moment, with the Duck Chardonnay, really not show it to too many critics out there in the world, because we've got enough people like you who kind of know it's going to be good. When you taste it and find out how good it is, hopefully that inspires you to grab a little bit and put it in your cellar for the joy. But you know, there's so little of it that we just don't have enough wine to put into wine shows to go into the beauty parade of trying to win awards. That said, we did send, as I said, we sent some bottles to Jane Faulkner for the Wine Companion. She wrote some lovely reviews for it. She actually likes the Robinson better than the McIntyre, which is her prerogative. I actually like the McIntyre better than the Robinson, but that's okay as well. I think they're both beautiful wines, and it's the difference as far as preference is concerned is so tiny. I really think it's not even relevant. We did show this wine. So I took a little bit of this wine over to the UK earlier this. That's right, Fiona. Mac on Thursday, Robbo Friday. Plenty of days in the week for both. Absolutely. And it's so lovely that they taste so different. Thank you, Craig. I'm glad you like keeping it underground. We haven't kept it completely underground, though, because I did take some to the UK, and one of the people that I showed it to, along with the 21 Robinson, the 21 McIntyre, 21 McIntyre Pinot, Robinson Pinot, and the 19, I think, Shiraz, was Matthew Jukes. And he tasted all those wines to consider maybe one or two for his top 100 Australian wines report. And when it came out about a month ago, all 5 wines got into the report. The 2021 Robinson Pinot was his kind of front runner, but he said that he equally loved the McIntyre Pinot, the Robinson Chardonnay, the McIntyre Chardonnay, all of those all of those wines, and the Shiraz got huge raps from him. So I'm now trying to decide which wines put we put into his roadshow, because it means we have to donate some wine, and we have to spend a little bit of money, but it means that our wines get to be shown to a heap of very influential wine buyers in the UK, which is great. It's great for our recognition internationally, because a lot of wine writers in the UK write for magazines and websites that are read internationally, and so that's very exciting. We also showed the wines to Sarah Ahmed in Decanter, and you will have seen, I think those of you who are subscribers to Decanter Premium might have seen that there was an update on her tasting notes, and she's written tasting notes for the 2021s, and she loved this wine as well. So having the opportunity to go and pour it into people's glasses and hopefully get some nice reviews, and then hopefully the people who read the reviews are curious enough to go out and buy it and drink it and go, yum. That's sort of a sneaky underground kind of way of trying to get the wine out there. We went to see the guys at the Prince Wine Store this week, and said to them, look, we love you, and we love that you love the wines, but this is your allocation. And so they'll probably just pop it on the shelf in the store, rather than maybe doing I don't know, up to them, but rather than doing offer and selling it all at once, they might just kind of sell it to customers that they know who are going to love it. So it's a bit sneaky, the old McIntyre marketing campaign. But yeah, it's good fun. Okay, so Kate, I'll second that. Rob and Deb, the public doesn't realise that not all wines or wineries go into competitions. Yeah, Aldi wines do a lot, and yes, they have some nice wines at ridiculous prices. That's right. Our wine needs the time that we spend with it to really express itself properly. And I've done quite a lot of wine show judging in my time. And you're expected to taste 60 wines in half an hour and decide which are the best in that bracket, and then move on to the next bracket. And that runs for a day, 2 days, 3 days. It's exhausting. It hurts your palate and your brain by the end of it. And I think wines that are subtle and that take a little while to open up and show themselves never do well in shows, because they don't get enough time spent with them. So I think that's another reason that I prefer not to enter our wines into wine shows. It's not to say that people who win wine shows that those wines are not good. Those wines are always good. I think that the wine judges are amazing. They tend to be wines with very strong sort of outgoing personalities. So I think if we were going to put Moorooduc Estate wine in a wine show, probably the Robinson, because yes, the Robinsons have got that instant gratification. I like that, Craig. Instant gratification kind of sense, rather than the duck takes longer and takes longer to get to know them. Absolutely. So could you decant the rest of the bottle? Yes, the lemon curd comes through really beautifully with a little bit of air. I've missed a few things. Peter, I asked Richard, says he'd have a Pinot Noir with his plain omelette, and you will be probably unsurprised to hear that Richard and Jill both have very strong opinions on omelettes. And Richard makes amazing omelettes, but he will not put anything in an omelette except for egg, salt, pepper, and lots of butter in the pan. So when Jill says that she would have a cheesy omelette with a glass of Chardonnay, well, I think there could be a little bit of discussion in the relationship about that, because Richard thinks that cheesy omelettes are a bit of a travesty. So there you go. There's a challenge for you. I love a bit of feta in my omelette. I think that's pretty yummy. But yes, I think a cheesy omelette would be good with a Chardonnay. But again, very hard to eat an omelette without getting egg on your lips. So then you've got to, do the whole everything. It's a palaver. This wine in the glass has kind of done this big sort of loop of getting bigger and more expressive and richer, and now it's kind of closed down a little bit. And I think that when you get to that stage with and you get this lovely kind of lemon barley water kind of a note, it's very fine, it's very elegant. On the palate, it's really lemony. Again, So I'm going to put a little bit more in my glass just to freshen it up a little bit to get a bit more of those aromas back. It also smells, for me, when it's opened up a little bit, that lemon curd, but there's also a sort of a cereal kind of and what I mean by cereal, it's like a wheaty, puffed wheat kind of aromatic, like a little bit like a cereal, but not a sweetened cereal, but a wheat-based, um, I don't know what I'm trying to say. That I guess that sorry? Like, not quite a crusket, but a little bit like a crusket, Pete said over here. Bit like a crusket, bit like um, they call them saltines in America, and I can't remember what we call them here, but those sort of very plain, crunchy cheese biscuits biscuits for putting cheese on that are really plain. Salada. Thank you, Fiona. A salada biscuit is what I'm trying to think of. It's got that character too. And then I've put that extra wine in and I've just given it a swirl, and all that lemon curd has just come back out of the glass again, which is just gorgeous. Bit of marzipan, Pete says, and I see that too. A bit of almond. Um, Often we get sort of cashew nut and Brazil nut in the McIntyre Chardonnay when it ages. It's not showing that in this wine yet. It's more almondy, marzipan-y. But there is that nutty character, and I think that if you put this wine in the cellar for a little while, it will probably develop some of those richer nutty characters, which I think would be a really nice evolution of the wine. I think the thing that I love about this is that it's got that it's tight and it's fine, but it's got a richness and a muscularity to it on the nose and on the palate. The acid is really fresh, and it's got this really lovely length to it. David, compared with the new bottle, the one opened up Sunday held up very well. Oh, so you're on to your second bottle, are you? Another half a bottle. Good work. Good work, David and Fiona. Um, really fresh, really bright. Getting text messages from Sue McKeon. Sue's here, but she can't chat because Jeff's not there to set it up. Hi, Sue. So yeah, what else can I say about this Chardonnay except that I think it's very special. It's pretty rare. I wanted to share it with you guys sooner rather than later because I'm really concerned that the people who love it are going to miss out on it if they don't grab it soon. It is selling through quite quickly. What else can I say about it? It will be better in a few years' time, but gosh, it's delicious right now, isn't it? So even if you buy it and drink it tomorrow, then it's going to make you very happy. And I think it would be awesome. Oh, you do share it with David's mum. That's right, Fiona. And David's mum, hello. I'm sorry, what's David's mum's name? Fiona and David? Because I have to say thank you for the beautiful, Kay, thank you for the beautiful quilt. It's so gorgeous. It was really incredibly kind of you, and we think it's just gorgeous. Robin Deb, how good is terroir? I totally agree. So the flavour character of this wine, that's the other thing that I kind of didn't get around to mentioning because I've sort of said it to you guys a lot, but I think it's worth saying again that this wine and the Robinson Chardonnay from 2021 made in exactly the same way, and the Estate Chardonnay from 2021, which we drank last year, or earlier this year, probably actually, made in exactly the same way. And the characters of the wine are completely different because of where the grapes are grown, because of the vines that the fruit come from. They're slightly different clones. They're a little bit older in the McIntyre vineyard than they are in the Robinson vineyard, but not that much. These Chardonnay vines turned 40 this year, so that's pretty exciting. And when we released this wine in September, it was just, hang on, no, we didn't release this wine in September. I take it back. When we released this wine in November, so it's very newly released. I was really excited to show it to people, very excited to show it to you guys tonight. I think it's one of the best duck Chardonnays that we've ever made. I think it's very, very special. Craig, what was the oak on this again? The the wine has been winemaking. Cloudy juice goes straight into barrel. So all of our Chardonnays are 100% barrel fermented with about 15 to 20% new oak. We're reining it back so it's closer to 15 on this wine and on the Rob Chardonnay from 2021. And the wine it does its primary ferment in barrel. We leave quite a lot of headspace because when the wine's fermenting, it bubbles a lot, particularly when it's in a barrel with a very small opening at the top. So we don't want it to bubble out. Once the primary ferment's finished, once all the sugars turn into alcohol, we top the barrel all the way up to the top, and it spends about 11 months in total in that same barrel without being taken out of the barrel, without being moved very far. We will check the barrels about once a month if they need a little bit of extra wine put in the top to top them up. If a little bit's kind of evaporated or soaked into the oak, then we top it up so there's no headspace. We tend not to stir the wine very much anymore, but there are all the lees and all the dead yeast cells in the wine. So dead yeast cells are lees plus bits of the solid bits of the grape pulp is in there as well, and that just is left to do its own thing. It's left unsulfured for all that time in barrel because during that time it goes through a natural malolactic conversion. So that little bit of creaminess that is starting to show up in the wine and will get more intense as the wine ages, that little bit of creaminess comes from malolactic fermentation and really good natural acidity in that wine. So it hasn't dropped the acid too far. Still got lots of tanginess, lots of richness and lots of depth to it. So Craig, when in the process did you realize it was going to be so good? It certainly wasn't while it was doing its thing in the vineyard, because we had a really difficult beginning of the season. We had dreadful weather during flowering and fruit set in 2021. We were very concerned about how the vines would flower and set fruit because it was wet and cold and windy and rainy, and we got very poor fruit set, so that's why we've got so little of it. But the fruit that did set then had a really lovely ripening period, so we knew the flavours were going to be good if we picked the wine at the fruit at the right time. The problem with that was that we had big and little berries. The little berries ripen much faster than the big berries. And in fact, the Robinson we picked a little bit earlier and got more of the little berries. And so the Robinson was a little bit riper in 2021 than we would maybe normally see. The McIntyre we left on the vines for a little bit longer. The little berries dried up, shriveled up and dropped off. And then the big berries weren't quite as ripe and had higher acidity because they took longer to ripen. So when we picked the fruit and looked at the juice, it was a little higher in acidity and a little tighter and a little bit finer than we'd expected from the McIntyre vineyard. But turns out that that was a really good thing because we still had the intensity of flavour. We had that beautiful balance. So I think when the juice came in, we were kind of like, the flavour's good, a bit worried about maybe the acidity might be a bit high. But as it was fermenting, as soon as it had finished fermenting, we had a pretty good idea that we were onto something pretty special. And every time we looked at it in barrel, we kind of went, oh yeah, this is going to be good. So it's kind of a process. We look at it a lot, Craig, along the way. And so we're kind of evolving with the wine. And we never quite know it's never kind of like, aha, this is going to be a great wine. It's sort of hope, and then some positiveness when we taste the wine and think, oh, it's looking good. Hopefully it keeps doing good things. But we also know how this vineyard behaves, and we've been working with this vineyard. Well, the vines were planted 40 years ago. So Richard knows this vineyard like the back of his hand. Jeremy and I have been involved for, I think, we were trying to work it out the other day, at least the last decade. So we all have a pretty good idea about how this vineyard behaves. And we know that as long as we look after it properly during the growing season, we know that we have the potential to get great fruit from it. So there's not been, even in a really difficult year like 2011, we've managed to make beautiful wine from that vineyard. So it's a pretty special site. Yes, Shell, story time with Kate. My voice turned into story time, Kate. Absolutely. Can you do anything if you think it's not going to be good? Peter and Karen, if we think it's not going to be good, by the time we realise that, it just means that wine will either be declassified, so we won't make a McIntyre Chardonnay. It'll go, if it's good enough for estate Chardonnay, if it just doesn't have the length and the concentration and the complexity for McIntyre, but it's still nice, it can go into the estate Chardonnay, which is usually a bigger blend, so there's more components that kind of affect the flavour profile. If it's not good enough for estate, then there's Devil Bean Creek that it can be declassified to. If it's not good enough for Devil Bean Creek, if something's gone really horribly wrong with the wine, and we're not likely, if the fruit's dreadful out there, if we have like a major incident in the vineyard and there's a huge amount of disease and everything's rotting, we probably wouldn't bother picking it. We probably wouldn't bother making it. But if something goes wrong in the winery, which so far, touch wood, really hasn't happened, and a lot of people worry about or say, do you worry about using wild ferments and natural malos and that kind of thing? We work really closely with keeping an eye on the wine to make sure that things don't go badly, but we also know that we've got low pHs, we've got wines that are pretty good at looking after themselves because of the way we've grown them in the vineyard and because of the way we handle them and look after them in the winery. But if it's not good enough for Devil Bean Creek, then we can either sell it off as bulk wine or final, if it's really dreadful, tip it down the drain. We would never release a wine that we didn't think was good enough to be McIntyre Chardonnay under this label because we make so little of it. The people who buy it year in, year out would never forgive us. They'd never come back and buy it again. Craig, that's naughty. So yeah, we do have, we've got a number of different triages. And Cotty, that's really, so Cotty's asked, when did we last have a Devil Bean Creek Chardonnay? Devil Bean Creek Chardonnay generally has been a major problem for us because we've had, over the last 4 years, we've had dreadful weather during flowering and fruit set. And we're hoping that 2024 vintage, which we've just finished flowering and fruit set, we think we've had really good flowering and fruit set, so we think that there's the potential for all of our Chardonnay vines to give us really good crops. So as long as everything goes right in the next couple of months, we might have, good quantity and good quality of Chardonnay. That would be nice. But the Devil Bean Creek Chardonnay, we've always made a tiny amount of it, but the 2022 Devil Bean Creek Chardonnay we made 100 dozen of. And so it all got sold to our distributors. And they, excuse me, been a big day. It all went to our distributors. We didn't have any for Celador. They were angry with us for only having 100 dozen, but it really was all we could make. And the 2023 is going to be the same. We're bottling it in January. There'll be 100 dozen of the 2023 Devil Bean Creek Chardonnay. It'll all go to wholesale because we've got other fun things that we want you guys to enjoy. So if you have like a serious hankering for Devil Bean Creek Chardonnay, you need to send me an email and I'll see if I can wrangle a dozen from the stash before we send it off to our wholesalers. But Devil Bean Creek wines were always made with wholesale in mind because they're supposed to be stepping stone wines from Devil Bean Creek up to estate wine. They're a little bit less expensive, and they're a little carrot for restaurants and cafes who maybe don't feel that they have the capacity to sell the estate wine in their venue. They might be able to sell Devil Bean Creek, and maybe they can work up to the estate. So that's the story of the Devil Bean Creek Chardonnay. Hopefully in 2024, in 12 months' time, we'll be able to have some extra Devil Bean Creek to have a play with for Celador and for our wine club and Drinks with Kate people. Gang, it is nearly 50 minutes into the tasting, so I am going to hang up my hat and let you all get on with your evenings. It's been awesome. I feel like we've had story time, we've had tasting, we've had hopefully, it sounds like a lot of you made the Caesar salad, and some of you are about to have the Caesar salad. Fiona, go poach some eggs. Enjoy your dinner. Thanks so much again, everyone. It's been awesome. Next week, we're doing the Robinson Pinot Noir. Wonderful with fresh seafood, oysters at home. What a revelation. Unreal, Shell. That's, I think, if in doubt with a wine like this, oysters will always make you happy, as long as you like oysters. I know people who don't like oysters, and that's a mystery to me, but that's a mystery we'll have to deal with another day. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your evenings. See you next week. Cheers. Go to the Big Fish and carry them down for your oysters. Absolutely, Fiona. Don't tell everyone. It'll get too hard to get into. Cheers, everyone. See you next week. Unless I'm seeing you tomorrow night or Saturday night. Cheers.